All right. Yeah, good evening, everyone. Welcome. Welcome joining us tonight. Yeah. So we are glad to have Paul in person, to be online and to share his some of his work. Yeah. So it's exactly 1 year we met Paul. We met Paul last year, May. Exactly 1 year we met again. So how we met Paul and how we get know of his study is last year, four of us from CuCl₂, we attended an online workshop named Nutrition and Biodynamic Food Qualities. And this workshop facilitated by Yasmin Preshka from the section of Agriculture for TNM. And Paul was one of the tutors for this workshop. And he was invited to share his research findings on copper chloride biocrystallization and food quality. So after the last day of workshop, we are so excited and we are so inspired by his enthusiastic sharing, and which we felt this is very important and it could bring a lot of confidence, to all who are concerned with food quality. Yeah, that's why end of the year we invited Paul again to do an online workshop, which is more in-depth learning for everyone. Yeah, here is I'd like to introduce about Paul. Paul has been working with the copper chloride crystallization method in a scientific context since 2001. It is like more than 20 years work, not a short period of time. And his doctorate thesis is the research, the fundamental of homeopathic using the crystallization method. Yeah, Paul started this copper chloride crystallization research. His intention is to share the insight gained from the research with the scientific communities and general public. So when we come about, talk about the life process, qualities, nutrition, which is so-called invisible, but now it is visible by Paul's effort. Yeah. So tonight I will pass the ball to Paul that he could introduce and share some part of his work and his intention, why he's so passionate on this research. Paul, over to you.
Thank you very much, Samantha, for these kind words, and welcome everybody. Good evening. It's afternoon here in Switzerland, where I'm zooming from. It's just a 10-minute preview of the online class, and this is indeed incorrectly what it says here, online course. It's indeed, like Samantha said, it's an online workshop, because I won't be doing all the talking. I want you to do the working, to perceive what it is that food quality actually is. I think only when you perceive it yourself, you get a real perception of what food quality can be, more than only the constituents of our food. So how resilient is our food and why you should care? Well, nowadays our food is increasingly being divided into good and bad food. And bad food is considered, or food is considered bad when it contains many constituents which are health compromising for our body. And food is considered good when it contains many constituents which are supposedly be health stimulating for your body. But as clear as this view may be, it ignores aspects such as resilience, growth, ripening, aspects of the whole food that we eat. We don't eat nutrients, we eat a whole food product. And this is what I really want to focus on. So I'm not saying that constituents aren't good or should be obliterated completely in our food quality concept, but it's just one part of the medal. And we've lost, in this clarity of thinking, we've lost the perception of the whole food product that we actually eat. And why this is important is because the future of our food is knocking on our door, and not only knocking on our door, it is already being implemented in our food chain. This kind of high-tech food production silos are being built up all over the world, and they are being promoted that they are highly energy efficient, hardly have any transport costs, because you can produce food like this under your supermarkets and harvest it when it's required, and because the conditions are semi-sterile, like you can see the man, I think it is, working there with this protective clothes and mask. You don't need any plant protective chemicals, so it's considered by some as semi-organic cultivation, which I disagree with completely. But anyway, this is the future of our food that is rushing towards us, and this is completely based on that food is just based out of constituents. And I disagree with that, and I'll try to make in these 10 minutes a little bit clear why I disagree with that and what we try to do with the 3-day online course. A couple of years ago, I wrote a book specifically about this topic. It's in Dutch, Barstens vol leven, so full of life, a plea for phyto-food. And this was translated into German by Jasmine Peschke from Acker auf den Teller, and last year also in Italian, in a title I can't really pronounce very well. But all these books focus on the vitality of a food and the need to enlarge our concept of what food quality is beyond the constituents to the living aspects of our food. And to give you an example, a very simple test we performed in the concept of our book on food quality. If you slice a cucumber up in separate slices and wrap it up in kitchen foil and leave it standing for 2 weeks, you might expect the cucumber looks like this after about 2 weeks. So surprising when you perform the same research, same conditions with a biodynamic cucumber, and it looks like this, almost intact. This is not photoshopped, almost intact, and you see the slices have grown together. Actually, they have also grown together in the conventional cucumber, but here we see decay is clearly present. And this biodynamic cucumber slices have grown so firmly onto each other that I can just hold it in my hand and it won't drop apart. Actually, we can put a weight of up to 2 kilos on one of these slices before it starts to tear off. And this aspect, this growing together and not decaying after 2 weeks of storage, is not caught in our constituents analysis. And to rise this to, so this simple pilot cucumber experiment is now being performed in European context with multiple laboratories, and they are seeing more or less similar results. Biodynamic and organic cucumbers doing it a lot better than conventional cucumbers. Now, I've been working for 20 years, as Samantha already said, with the copper chloride crystallization method, with exactly the same aim to make clear, get a picture, but then in a scientific context of these life forces, or whatever you call them. We first start off with a petri dish, which we stick together off a glass plate and a rim, put it into an kind of a evaporation chamber, and drop a solution of copper chloride, soluble copper chloride solution, just a salt solution, with the food sample we want to analyze. And this is what our chamber looks like complete. So it's a man-sized chamber. It takes about 12 to 13 hours before the solution has evaporated and the crystal starts growing. And what we do at the end, we take this petri plate apart and we look only at the glass plate against bright light. And this is a crystal growing in the chamber we have. So this is a wheat crystal, and this is the time after the start of growth at 8:05, and then you see how it slowly proceeds to grow, to crystallize in a dish. So what we see here is the copper chloride solution, which has evaporated to such an extent that it starts to crystallize, but the form is changed by the additive we've added to the crystal solution, in this case, wheat. Now, when we take the bottom of this plate and look at it against dark light, we see this for only copper chloride. It looks really pretty, but when you zoom in more, you see that it's a haphazard arrangement of the copper chloride crystallization needles. However, when you add to this soluble copper chloride something like cabbage juice, you get a completely different picture. Highly organized, one crystallization center, and branches going from the crystallization center towards the rim of the dish. And when you zoom in, you see that it's highly organized. So what you see here is still the copper chloride, but the copper chloride is organized by the sample we added to it. And this is really intriguing because here we have a method which we can detect the organizing potential of our sample. Interesting enough is that different samples give rise to different pictures. For instance, barley, soy, carrot, wheat, milk, and cabbage. But what really is interesting is when we look at growth or ripening or aging phenomena. Here we're looking at the aging of carrot juice. It's the same carrot juice which was crystallized at two different moments. Here is the fresh juice, here is the aged juice, and here you see a clear center. We'll go into this much more in detail in the three-day online course, but just to give you an idea of what I'm working with and what we will be working with during the course. And here's the same sample after aging in the fridge for 7 days. And this gives you an idea how the sample is not able to organize the copper chloride crystal needles anymore, or to a lot lesser extent than the fresh juice. And with this phenomena in hand, we can also start to distinguish the effects of farming methods. For instance, organic versus conventional farming. So here we have two pictures of maize, and you see there's a clear difference. And when we zoom in, you see the difference even clearer. Here we have a clear organization of the copper chloride needles, while here it's really haphazard, falling apart. So here's the whole picture again, and the one that is falling apart. And this is conventional maize, this is organic maize. And this can be repeated many times. And it's not always that all organic farmers have a better quality than all conventional farmers, but the majority of the organic farmers, and certainly the biodynamic farmers, really show an improvement of their product's ability to organize the crystals. An effect of apple juice processing, clearly differences. I might add that this one here to the right side, I don't know if you see my mouse, to the right side is the most drunk apple juice in Holland. I think also in Switzerland and Germany. It's a cleared conventional apple juice, while this is on the left side is biodynamic turbid apple juice. And I must add, when you make this turbid apple juice clear, it also goes into the direction of the right sample, but still a lot less degraded than what we see here. So summarizing, it's only a very brief introduction. What I want to focus on is that we have a need for a new quality of our food. Only looking at the compound analysis, I hope I gave a little hint that that just is too little to look at. I will show more examples, more research in this direction, more hard research in this direction, with eye-popping results that show that this compound analysis alone is not sufficient to grasp the quality of a food. We need to take the living aspect into account, that's clear. But it has to be done in a scientifically sound and communicable manner if we want to reach the policymakers. And that is one of the aspects I really really much involved in the scientific working with scientifically accepted methods to grasp this new quality aspect of our food. Well, so much for now. I hope you got a little hint of what we will be talking about the next, or the 3-day course. And yes, I'm looking very much forward to having you. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Thanks for such a precisely and informative sharing with 10 minutes. Aren't you realize that it's such a study and all these scientific informations are very valuable, important, especially for food producers and consumer. So Paul's accomplishment actually, they could support and encouragement of organic and biodynamic farmers as well as a food producer, and who commit to producing quality food. As consumers, we also concerned about the qualities, and now we have talked about qualities, nutrition value, life forces, and vital forces, and all kinds of even the food resilience. And what does it matter? How we can, we could really see this quality. Now a lot of people, when we hope that we can get all such information as much as we could, and especially we can see, we can feel. So all this study, I believe that it could be very helpful, and have a clear general public, they can have a clearer pictures on why we strongly recommend or encourage the farming method in more organic and biodynamic, as well as when you come to the food qualities selection, it could be this direction. Yeah, so I have a secret as a guest, to like to share. I'd like to invite her to share with you from the perspective of a 20 years retailer of organics and biodynamic products. And I believe her experience, to deal with all these distributors or consumers, and what's her insight, and why she also felt that Paul's work is such a valuable finding.
Hello. Hi, Paul. Okay, nice to meet you again. Hello, everyone. Why I felt so connected to Paul's work? I've been in. I started together with my siblings and my husband. We started a organic business called Just Life about just over 20 years ago. And when we first started this business, of course, we get a lot of questions, right? People ask us, how do you know that this is organic? And can you tell by tasting? And then that was the beginning. And then now that I have this 20 over years of experience, and then people come to me and say, now you have over 20 years of experience in organic business, right? So if you eat organic food, not organic food or organic food, can you tell the difference? We get questions. I get this kind of questions. And when we have customers that comes into the shop, and we get all sorts of customers. Some customers comes in with a pendulum, so they test the energy of the our products. And then also we get customers that use this O-ring. I don't know whether you guys know the O-ring test, that test the energy of the products. So, and that also gives me a lot of let me started to think about, so how do I share this message of biodynamic and organic farming? How do I share with them what my farmers shared with me? So it's how do I carry that story to them? Yeah. And so then I became a very good storyteller. So I tell the story of the farm, how they do it, how hard they work, and how the soil is different. Yeah. And all this kind of communication that I felt, I need to do that so that people can appreciate the farmers' work. And when I attended Paul's class, I think in March, and then subsequently again recently, and twice. But I felt so glad that I felt so happy and so thankful that there are actually a group of people that have been working so dedicatedly committed into this work in reaching out to the people out there that their work, the farmers, the farming method actually make a difference. And then even the way we treat our seeds, even the way we where the the plant is grown. Yeah, all this actually can be seen with our eyes. It can be seen, and it can be we can actually visually see it. So I think that that gives me a lot of joy in that, you know, finally the story can be shared, and it can be, you know, because I think some of us are so, you know, we need science, and we need something that we can comprehend. Yeah, not just by way of knowing the farmers or knowing their stories, but to me, I felt the first thing that came into my mind is that finally I can let my farmers, you know, the farmers' friends see that their work actually makes such a big impact. Yeah, to the not only to the health of the community, but also, you know, how it affects the all these energy levels in our environment, and it can be seen. Their work can be seen. So that's why I have, you know, discussed with Samantha that, you know, we want to invite all our farmers friends to be here so that they can feel, you know, the pride, and also the I guess finally, right, that someone can see their work. Yeah, and also as consumers, I think it's also a very, very, you know, so if you ask me who should attend this workshop, right, I would say everyone who eats, you know, everyone who has a connection to food should attend this workshop, you know, and then you will feel so, so convinced, and so, I think feel so connected, yeah, to everything that is happening in our food system. Yeah, so it's, I would say this workshop comes as a blessing to our community, that we can, you know, we can actually manage to convince Paul to come online to this part of the world. And I hope that you can share it out to everyone that you know, to be able to see for yourself the work that has been done. And I think what Paul shared just now is just a little bit of intro. And the reason why we have wanted Paul to do it, you know, as complete as possible, and then he managed to fit it in 3 days, because the one that we attended is about I think in total of about 3 hours or 3.5 hours, and we felt that there's so much more that he wanted to share, but not enough time. So we asked him, so if you want to tell more complete picture of your work, right, how much time do you need? And he said maybe like, you know, 6 hours. So yeah, hopefully, you know, although it's a stretch that you have to be around for 3 nights consecutively, but to me, I think it's a very worthwhile time spent. And yeah, I think you will like me, I think you will see a lot of insights that maybe you have thought about it before, but, you know, Paul make it visible for us, and also very easy to understand. Yeah, I would say. Yeah. So every time, actually, you know, I'm still looking forward to his next, even though I've attended, but I'm still looking forward to it, because every time I learn something new, you know, like he gave us a lot of opportunity to go into discussion in the small group, and I find that helps a lot as well. Very well designed class, and yeah, thanks so much, Paul, for your, yeah, you know, for you to come on board this program in Malaysia, and hopefully we can connect to people around this region in the same time zone. And yeah, thanks everyone for coming tonight. Back to you, Samantha.
Yeah, thanks, Kelly. I can feel Kelly is so passionate and so exciting about this course. Yeah, so do I. You know, as a consumer, I have been consumes, you know, purchase organic products. I think about maybe close to more than 10 years. Yeah, I was one of the consumers, you know, to asking a lot of questions and curious about the qualities, you know, if I pay so much money, really, is that a real organic, something like that. Until, you know, we met the farmer, you know, the farmer, get to know how they produce their food, then you have more confidence. But somehow, if when I becomes one of the retailer, I was running an organic cafe and retail a few years back. You know, I have the same experience Kelly did. We also facing a lot of questions, queries from the customers. Yeah, normally they are concerned about whether the pay is worthwhile or pay for the value. And somehow when we mention about the quality, which is not invisible, which is invisible, like, you know, talk about life process and the farming methods, you know, sometimes they couldn't feel and or they couldn't imagine, you know, how it's work, how is it, you know, unless. So now we have all these studies, and we can easily to share. You know, if you like to further more, find out more study, then can you come to the Paul's work. You know, that is. And as a consumer, I will be appreciate like what Paul have contributed for the past 30 years. And I believe as a farmers or food producer, they also feel pride, and also they will feel like their hard work, you know, is being known, yeah, by every one of us. And also as we also appreciate that all this finding studies that can support us, you know, for a longer journey. Yeah. So for those who would like to find out more about Paul's work, I like to share the website on the chat. You could you can click and study more about this. And also for those who like to share the participants in the course in upcoming 3 days workshop, there's a link. You can click the link and do the registrations. I believe your participation is a great support to Paul's dedications, you know, that benefits the whole community. Yeah. So any questions from the floor, or any question that you like to ask Paul? You know, we can have 1 or 2 questions that can take. You can raise your hand. Yeah, let's see. Okay, any question? Good. No question means more question to come. Yeah. So we are looking forward to having you for the next week online class to meet Paul. Yeah, and to meet every one of us next week. And thank you so much, Paul, for your time. I will see you next week.
Thank you, Samantha, for organization, and Kali.
Thanks,
Thank
Paul.
you. And thanks everyone for joining us for this short and nice 30 minutes preview. And we hope to see you next week. Thank you and good night.